G'day, welcome to the Financial Bloke Podcast, the podcast for people seeking the wisdom needed to grow their family's wealth and live a happier, healthier and more prosperous life. My name's Ben Law and I am the Financial Bloke. Welcome back to the Financial Bloke's Wealth and Wisdom Podcast. Websites, Facebook, Instagram, Google Ads. As an agribusiness owner, I'm sure you kind of know you need some of them. But to most rural producers and me, who haven't got a marketing degree and years to do the testing, they're sort of akin to black magic. They suck up a whole lot of time, money and attention. And if you go down the marketing rabbit hole, it's like being sucked into a time vortex. But if you get marketing right, it can be a powerful tool to support the growth of your agribusiness. But where the hell do you start? What do you need to know? And who do you trust without remortgaging the farm and taking a 6-month sabbatical to learn it all? I want to know as much as you do, so we need to start at the beginning. Marketing 101. And we need a guest that can cut to the key points to kickstarting your marketing in your business. Our guest today is my mate, Brendan McDonald, who has over 30 years experience in marketing. He's the managing director of CoBright, a Toowoomba-based team of dedicated marketing, copywriting and design specialists who deliver proactive, tailored marketing and web design solutions. Being regionally located and with Brendan's personal affinity for agriculture, CoBright quickly became one of Australia's leading agribusiness marketing and web design agencies. Brendan loves getting to the bottom of companies' unique value to understand how to get their story in front of the right people at the right time. Brendan has kindly offered to put together some real practical resources which you can download. He's going to give you the details of where you can get them at the end of the episode. So if you're selling contracting services, bulls, rams, grains, or any other agricultural commodity, or even if you just want to attract the right farm manager or farm workers, then this podcast on marketing will be well worth a listen for you. So without further delay, let's kick off Marketing 101 with my mate, Brendan McDonald.
Yeah, g'day, Ben.
Good to have you here, mate. It's been a while. We've been talking about this for a little bit of time, so I'm super excited about today.
Yeah, me too. Thanks very much.
So, mate, marketing is what we're going to be talking about today, and you know all about marketing, 30-odd years experience, but marketing's always fallen into what I call like a black magic category for me, and I sometimes feel really stupid saying that I haven't managed to work it out yet, and I don't think I'm alone. Now, I don't want to skirt around the edges and talk about all the fluffy stuff. I want to get right to the core of this and sort of cut to the core of the matter. Now, you have a specialisation in the ag market, so you know farmers, graziers and what they need. So why should agricultural producers care about and invest in marketing? You know, what's the pitch to them?
Well, agribusiness is a business like any other business. So the way we work on this is every business has a reason that people do business with them. They've got a unique story or a unique value that we like to know about. They have customers that value that business offering, so they'll have an ideal customer that we'd like to learn about. So marketing is really a way of packaging up that story, telling it to the right people in the right place at the right time, and then being able to measure the results at the end of it. So marketing really should work in with your overall strategic plan. And so marketing is a way of being proactive about meeting those goals. So rather than hoping it all happens, marketing gives you a little bit of a proactive way of making sure you get there. So as a marketer, it's always handy if we know what your overall business strategy is, and we can then use a marketing strategy to help you execute it. So I guess the answer is every business has got a unique value and they've got ideal clients, and that's what we'd like to figure out.
Yeah. And it's interesting, mate, because a lot of farmers and graziers will say things like, I produce grain or I produce cattle. What the hell do I need marketing for? And so I think they're the people more than anything we're going to be talking to today to really understand the fact that whilst you don't want to invest all your time into marketing because, there's better things to be doing in the business, but you do need some sort of marketing in your business if you want to be successful. And I think that's where we want to sort of get into today. So anyone sitting there going, I don't need to know about marketing. I drive a tractor. I muster cattle. That's what I do. I think marketing is going to become more and more important as we go forward. And the little teaser I'm going to give is Brendan and I talked about this a little while ago, and he was saying, if you want to attract really good quality staff, which most people are struggling to do, you need to have some sort of marketing presence to be able to sell your business to potential employees, because employees nowadays, they hear about ABC Pastoral Company, they'll get straight on the internet, Facebook, Instagram, websites, etc., and check you out. And if that's the difference between you hiring a Top Gun farm manager or a bunch of farm workers and retaining them, it's well worth the spend, wouldn't you say, Brendan?
Yeah, exactly right. So it's it all falls into the marketing mix. It's like not any different to any other business. So yeah, if I can help you understand what all the components are for that, that would be helpful.
Yeah. Now, mate, off the cuff, most people would probably say that marketing's just a website or a Facebook or Instagram page. But I sort of get that it's kind of like saying you just put a bull out with a cow and you get a calf, and therefore you're a highly successful grazier. It's, anyone who's a grazier will tell you it's far more intricate than that. And I know if you're going to invest money and, more importantly, your time into marketing, you should do way more than just bang up a pretty website, an Instagram page or a Facebook page and just post random photos. So Marketing 101's where we're at. So let's talk through the process first to get someone started. So let's say I'm an ag producer and I come into your office, Brendan, and I say, hey, Brendan, this marketing's a mystery to me, but I think I need to do it. Where do I actually need to start?
Yeah, well, I think we're going to be careful, obviously. Marketing's not just the promotion. There's several other components to a marketing mix, which I'll sort of go through with you as well. But there's a lot of things that happen before that promotion starts. So I guess if they came to us, a bit of an insight into our process is the first thing we want to be able to do before we start doing the website or the fancy Facebook posts or put ads out there is we want to understand your unique value proposition. So there's an exercise that we go through where we work out what it is your business does. We want to understand why that's valuable. Then we want to understand who are your customers and why do they think this service or product is valuable. So we'll go through a process of developing customer personas. So there might be 4 or 5 customers. You might have an export client, you might have a trader, you might have a retail client, and understanding who they are, what their needs, fears, motivations are. So as a marketer, once we know this unique value proposition, we know who these customers are and why it's valuable to them, we can go about setting up a strategy that tells the story to these customers. So it really is just understanding, packaging up what this unique value proposition is, finding who the right customers are and where to find them. So that's a very valuable thing. And I think once you understand what your unique value proposition is, when someone comes to you and says, what do you do or what your business does, you can easily define what it is, what we do, who we do it for, and why it's valuable or why it's unique. So I think if you can get that, that's the basis upon what we do our promotion with. But it's also helpful for you when people ask you at the pub, what do you do? Well, you can have that in your back pocket.
That's your elevator pitch, isn't it? And the thing about unique value proposition, that's a bit of marketing jargon. But essentially, my understanding is it's basically what's your proposition or what is your unique value to your customers that differentiates you from everyone else? Because, I produce an Angus bull, someone else produces an Angus bull. Well, why should they buy off me, not Joe Blow down the road? Or I produce, I'm a contractor that comes on farm and does earth moving. Well, why would you pick me rather than someone else? Is that right?
Yeah, exactly right. It could be 2 Angus bull producers, but they might have different markets or different personas or different values. So uncovering what that is quite helpful. I spoke earlier about not just going straight to the promotion. So going back to sort of
What do you mean by promotion, mate?
Promotion. Well, in the marketing world, there's the 4 Ps of marketing, to bring it back to basics. So promotion's one of those. So that's what you do to put your message out there. But also in the marketing mix, you've got product, price, and place, or sometimes people call it positioning. So marketing, it really covers all of those components there. So I guess to give you an example, let's say I'm breeding bulls. Okay, so the bull is the product, and the product has features about breed, genetics, attributes. You've designed or bred this bull to have unique attributes. You might be, targeting, a bull that can produce low birth weights or something like that. So there's your product. Okay, but marketing has a role in playing that. That helps you match the target market that you're trying to do.
Well, it's also understanding what your product is, probably, Brendan. Is that right? Because you breed a bull, but is that actually your product? Like, is it you're actually selling a bull, or you're selling the genetics, or you're selling reliability, or whatever it might be? Like, you've really got to understand what you're actually selling, shall we say?
Yeah, if you're just selling a product as a bull, it wouldn't really matter what sort of bull it was, but yeah, different bulls for different purposes. So yeah, building, packaging up that product is, in that case, probably years and generations of work, but that would be the product. Then if I was to sell this bull, I've got to consider the place. So I could have an on-farm auction, I could do it online. Also, the geography, where it is, what sort of climatic conditions it's suitable for, and also considering that the market for it, is this a premium offering or a standard offering, or is it how is it viewed in the market as far as its premium or value? So that's product and place. Price plays a part in marketing too. Generally, it's based on what people are prepared to pay based on its place or positioning. But also, a price can give an indication as to the value of the product. So if it's a more expensive bull, people are going to start looking for where that extra value is. Why is this bull more expensive compared to something I can buy elsewhere? So price plays a part in the marketing mix. And then there's the promotion. So this is where we tell the story in relation to who your ideal customer is. So promotion is part of the mix, but I guess as a marketer, sometimes people come to you and say, listen, I want to do some marketing. We need to do all these ads and we need to promote this thing, and which is fine, but certainly we've got to, if the product, place or price doesn't match up with what the promotion is, it could be a problem. So I guess an example of that is, years ago, without sort of giving away any secrets, we had a client that is in the medical industry. They had a logo that was a cartoon. They had, everything was bright green and bright pink. The building was bright pink. The waiting room had a big 4-meter teddy bear in the waiting room, which was quite good if we were targeting children. But at some stage, they came to me and said, "Listen, Brendan, we need to attract a few more adults into our practice, and with the product, place, and positioning of this business, to then change the promotion to ask for something totally different was probably a stretch too far." So that's a bit of an example of what we're doing there. Maybe another example of the 4 Ps, if you're a rural contractor. In that case, your product would be the service that you provide. It could be based around the equipment that you have. The place, obviously geography plays an important role, but also the positioning of your business, like being able to show what your previous projects are. So your positioning might be that you are quite happy doing small farms and little jobs, and 40 acres might be a big job for you. Whereas if you've got a book of work that shows that you can do some larger scale fencing or infrastructure projects, that's your place or your positioning. Again, price is what people are prepared to pay. Generally, if it's more expensive, they're expecting probably a more valuable and better service. Then there's the promotion. So again, that's how do we get this in front of the market? And there's an interesting concept around promotion as well. Before we're doing a campaign, we're trying to work out whether we are targeting people who are currently in the market for your product. So putting it on places where people are actively looking, potentially on marketplaces or using, say, Google search ads or something where they're actually specifically looking for that. Or we can be targeting a potential audience. We might define an audience where they are. Perhaps they're not necessarily looking for what we're offering right now, but at least we're educating them that when the day comes and you need someone to do this sort of work, we're the right people in the right place. So sometimes we consider a potential versus in-market audience.
It sounds pretty important to me, Brendan, that you follow those 4 steps. I mean, if you went straight to promotion, you could end up wasting a whole lot of time, effort, and energy promoting, and then finding out the customers that come to you are not the ideal customers. So unless you know who like you said before, your value proposition, who are your customers and what they want, and then why is it valuable to them? If you don't work that out right up front, you could spend an inordinate amount of time essentially attracting people you don't want.
Exactly. And marketing is not just gee, we need to go and promote this thing. It really starts when you're developing your product, working out where it fits position-wise in the market, even how you set your pricing. So yeah, it's an important thing. So as a marketer, we don't always get involved in every component of it, but it's our job to, I guess, make sure that those things line up. So when we do go and do the promotion, we've got a good chance of success.
Yeah, and I'm guessing a good quality marketer should be looking at that, because just a pretty website or a bunch of nice photos on Facebook or Instagram, if they don't generate results for the business, you could argue it's just a complete waste of time. I mean, we'll get into that in a little while, but I think that seems to be the clearest thing for me, because I've wasted a whole lot of time over the years with marketing where I've done stuff and it's basically looked pretty and it looked nice. And I was like, wow, I'm proud of that. It looks nice, but it actually didn't achieve anything other than it looked pretty and nice.
Yeah. Well, you got to try. Try a lot of things. I guess that sort of brings me to the next point. So marketing's not an exact science. Nobody can tell you from the get-go that I've got the silver bullet, and if we do this, this, and this, you're going to kill it. So your pretty pictures or your ads or something you did may well have been a good start, but in any marketing campaign, we understand that that's just our first crack at it. So what a good marketer can do is they can create a campaign or promotion based on those principles we discussed, the 4 Ps, but then they can measure the results and make changes to the campaign based on those results. So that's what we call A/B testing, which I'll talk about in a minute. But, there are a lot of different ways you can measure marketing. It's not just in the old days you put something in the paper or you put it on the TV and next week you hope the phone rings a little bit more than it did last week. Nowadays, there's a lot of good ways that a marketer can measure the performance. So a good marketer will use these things to help measure and test these campaigns so that they can get smarter over time. So a couple of examples of that is through your website. Most websites that have Google Analytics installed on there, not a lot of people use it to its full capacity. With Google Analytics, you can configure goals or conversions. So there might be a phone number link on your website, or there might be an online form. There's ways and means of us tracking those things. So, for example, if somebody clicks through to your website, we know it came from a Google ad. At the end of the month, we'll be able to tell you directly how many phone calls and how many web form inquiries or how many online sales resulted directly from that Google ad. So digital marketing uniquely is good for that stuff because within the Google and Facebook and LinkedIn platforms, we can tell the campaign what action we're trying to get. Is it an online sale? Is it a phone call? Is it a web lead? And then by putting those tracking pixels on your website, when people go through and make an inquiry, we can reasonably accurately measure what you got for your money. So digital marketing has sort of changed the game in that way, and that it's pretty easy to work out what you got for your money. But even traditional formats like print ads, putting something in the Country Life or the Land or the Farm Weekly or something like that, we can use QR codes to a similar effect. So a QR code might link you to the homepage of your website, but within that QR code or in the URL string, we can put some tracking data in there so that when that traffic lands on your website, Google Analytics can pick up that, okay, they've come through to the homepage, but we know that came in from the Land or the Country Life or something like that. So it's still a way of being able to measure that in a small way to see if it's contributed any value. And then fourthly, a good sales organisation will have a process when they do get the inquiries of asking those people, how did you find out about us? You might even have a CRM in place with a lead form that allows your sales reps to ask that question and then track that through your sales funnel. So it could be as simple as just asking people, how did you find us? What made you think of us? I mentioned A/B testing before, so that's an important tool because, like I said before, nobody's got the silver bullet. Nobody can go, yep, this is guaranteed. You're gonna kill this. So when a marketer sets up a campaign, let's say for example it's a Facebook ad. We won't just run one Facebook ad. We'll run probably 5 or 6 different versions of that Facebook ad. Not only that, we might try a single image ad, we might try a video ad, we might try a multi-image ad, and we'll test these and run them. And over time, we'll be able to pick out winners. So it could be that this picture of this bull doing this thing is a lot more appealing to people than this other one that's facing the wrong way or wrong color. We'll pick up on that, and then the next month we'll do 4 versions of the winning ad and see if we can expand on that and actually get a little bit better at it. And then over time you can hone in on that silver bullet and go, okay, well, we know if we have this color bull facing this direction with the sun in this here, it could be anything. You just don't know until you test it. Even the landing page on the website, that people end up on. We can A/B test those things too. So whether people make an inquiry or not might be really important. The landing page they end up on the website is quite important as well. So some of the bigger brands and franchises and pizza companies, when you click through on their ad off Google, if you did it 10 times, you'd probably see 10 different landing pages because they're testing each of these landing pages to see which one converts better than the other one. So that's, I guess, an understanding of A/B testing, and it's not just the one ad; it's testing and making sure that we're picking a winner. And the modern platforms, the digital marketing platforms, Google and Facebook and those sorts of things, their algorithms start getting smarter as well. So if we've told Facebook or Google that when we do this campaign, we want people to get onto the website, we want them to give us a phone call. So as long as we're tracking phone calls, the algorithm then goes, after you've had about 20 or 30 of these conversions, successful conversions as a result of your ad, the algorithm starts learning. So the Google or Facebook algorithm starts going, okay, I've got, we've had 20 or 30 people do what we want them to do. Maybe we can change who, when, how, when, why we show this ad to people to try and replicate that result. So you'll notice over the course of 3 or 4 months that besides our A/B testing, the algorithm starts learning and getting a little bit smarter as well. So there's lots of cool technology out there that helps you get a good result.
Today's episode is brought to you by AgriCoach. You've worked bloody hard over the years and you've built a solid operation. But as your children grow up and start their own journeys, you're beginning to think about the next 5, 10, and even 15 years and how to keep driving the business forward and ensure a smooth and successful succession plan. Preparing the business, preparing the next generation, and preparing for your eventual retirement all requires a solid plan and a proven process. Unsure about the right steps to take? Head on over to agricoach.com.au/webinar to learn more about our Succession Proof Your Family webinar. AgriCoach, aligning families, growing wealth, and protecting legacies. And now, let's get back to the episode. So it's simply because this is what I've come to understanding is you can do all the marketing in the world and you launch it and it just falls flat. But you can make a few small tweaks and it can be outrageously successful. And so that's what this A/B testing is you can actually run, just as a simple example, you could run the same page on your website that alternating people could go to. It's just slightly different. And so one customer goes to A, the next one that comes in goes to page B, which are on the surface identical. Not identical. They've got the same outcome. The people think they're going to the same page, but they've got slightly different copy or images, etc. And then you can test it and go, okay, which one's got better? And, one gets a 20% engagement and one gets an 80%. You're like, oh, okay, fantastic. People like to see pictures of, kittens on our page. So, okay, we need more kittens. Or that word didn't quite right. Maybe we could try some different text. But it has to be really important that you know what your outcome is, isn't it? So you want people to come to your page. You want them to take some action. And so you've got to be able to then measure that action, like whether they click through, phone call you, send an inquiry, download your product, buy something, whatever it might be.
Yep, that's right. So that's how we get to a point where, because as a marketer, you're always trying to prove that this thing is valuable. So one of the best analytics we use is cost per acquisition or cost per sale. Or even in an online shopping sense, it's actually even better because you're actually doing the transactions online. You can measure a return on investments, which is essentially how much you spent divided by how much you earned. You can work out a figure there and watch that either increase or decrease over time depending on what you do. So yeah, certainly in modern day marketing, there's a lot of good tools, a lot centered around your website. But there's a lot of good ways to track and measure this stuff. So it's not a mystery. And I guess if you take anything away from this, if you do engage a marketer or a promotion or an advertising company, it's the question you need to be asking is, what did I get for my money? And you've got to be wary of the people that say, oh, you spent $5,000 on this and look how many people clicked onto your website. Isn't that great? And you go, oh yeah, that sounds great. That's a lot of people on my website. But the real question is, okay, all those people that clicked through to my website, did they actually do what we asked them to do? Because Google and Facebook and all sorts of things are really great at generating traffic to your website, but they might be the wrong people. They might be doing what you want them to do. So you really can't make a decision on whether that's successful or not unless you're actually measuring Did they give us a phone call, or did they submit a form, or did they buy what we wanted online, or did they register for our bull sale and actually turn up? All that stuff. So.
And again, what you can measure, you can manage. And going back to the bull example before, if you get a whole lot of people, 1,000 people come to your website and you don't get one phone call, there's a problem, don't you? But if you don't measure that, you've got this beautiful website that's just a complete waste of time. So, yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. So, mate, I want to duck back to something we sort of touched on before, which was the workplace. So the employment market is super competitive and you've got to try and attract these people. So one of the things is we can use marketing to attract people. So, the old, we just put an ad on Seek, or we just put an ad on Facebook saying, farm manager wanted or farm worker wanted or something like that. Marketing can be a super valuable tool for that also. You imagine you've got a big agribusiness and you're always employing people. You've got employees coming and going. You're trying to find the right ones over time. Can we use marketing to really supercharge that, mate? And how might that look?
We can, and it's not unique to agribusiness. I think it's something we've all gone through in our business as well. So, and interestingly, more and more clients are coming to us, and it used to be, we need to sell more of these, we need more leads, or we need more business. But in the last couple of years, it's people coming to us and say, oh, no, we've got plenty of business, don't worry about that. We just need help finding some more people, because they're just hard to track down. So if we break that back down to the 4 Ps again, let's say it's your workplace. So again, if we're going to promote this thing, we also need to make sure that the other 3 Ps are the ducks are lining up. Otherwise, you're gonna miss.
The product is your workplace or the culture in your business. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. So it's the product is the workplace or the culture. So before we start promoting it, you got to be able to walk the talk on this stuff. If you don't have a good workplace culture or proven, or even letting people know about it, it's very hard. So certainly the marketing for a business to attract people really does start back at the product, the workplace, and the culture. The place, obviously, where they're going to work is going to be important, and also the positioning of the business too. Like you might have a small operation that might suit somebody, fresh to the industry, wants to cut their teeth and get stuck into it. So that would affect how you would promote that if this is a really good starting opportunity or an all-round type opportunity. Or you might be running a more of a corporate operation that is for somebody with a bit more experience, looking for the next leg up in their career, or a pathway off to moving for one of the big companies. So so you've got to understand what the place and the positioning of this thing is, so when we promote it, we can make sure it appeals to the right type of employee.
Because that's really important, isn't it? If you're promoting and someone, your job's up in the Northern Territory on a cattle station, and you're doing all your advertising, shall we say, or your marketing and promotion is hitting people down in Melbourne or Sydney, or that want to work in Queensland, you're going to be throwing a whole lot of value away, aren't you? And your results or your data will get skewed. We're getting 1,000 people looking at this website around employment, and vast majority of them aren't even based or don't even want to be in the territory.
Yeah, well, you got to find the right people where they are. But yeah, if it's an entry-level job, the way you promote that compared to something that you're looking for somebody with 20 years experience with some skills, that would change how and when you promoted that. The price, when we're talking about the 4 Ps for a workplace, obviously your wages and conditions would be the price there. So that would have to sort of match their expectations for what you're asking them to do. Then as a marketer, once we're comfortable with those things, we can then go and promote this. So, you got your standard things like, Seek, and you can use a recruiter. More and more people are asking us to put stuff out on Facebook, because obviously people who follow you on Facebook are either related to the business or have had something to do with the business. They're already familiar with your brand, and potentially if there's a vacancy pop through on there, they can go, gee whiz, I know somebody who'd fit that role, somebody who they know. The website and your social media presence and those sorts of things really need to reflect and tell that story. So there's a lot more employee-focused stuff on websites nowadays. Like they'll have interviews with employees. They'll be using their social media to show initiatives and things that they've done to enhance the culture and being a great place to work. Even if somebody does see you on Seek or they've been approached by a recruiter, you can guarantee the first thing they're going to do is hop on your website, check out, what's this place about? Are they good people to work for? Do other people like working for them? They're going to have a look on your Facebook pages and any other social channels you've got, just to get a bit of a feel for what the culture's like there. So I guess that means, if we're doing that promotion, we want to make sure that our public-facing pages, web pages and social media pages are telling that good story that you're acting out every day in order to be competitive, I guess, because it is a competitive market out there. So enhancing and working on that product to make sure it is actually a good product worth promoting is, I guess, probably even more important for when trying to find people to work for you.
Yeah, that's interesting. I interviewed a recruiter, Asher Hammond, a few months ago, and one of the things he said is obviously it's a very tight market everywhere, and so people are becoming far more focused on the workplace and the culture and the opportunity within the business, and they're always shopping around and looking. And so, as he said, when you're going out and advertising for an operations manager or a farm manager or whatever it might be, the chance of someone looking right there and then is very slim. Someone's looking right when you want to employ. And so for me, I go, the biggest value proposition for anyone out there in the agricultural industry is staffing is incredibly important, and trying to find the best farm manager or the best farm workers you possibly can is invaluable. And so that's the biggest pitch for me is you should be promoting it. And the best result you could get out of marketing is people approaching you. They come in and they say, "Hey, Brendan, I see what you're doing. I love what you're doing. Is there a job here for me?" I mean, that would be the ultimate thing, wouldn't it? And I think more and more as the generations are getting, I'm 46 now, but you start to see, kids, shall we say, but the younger generation coming through and getting into those positions, they use this. They will check you out. Your Facebook or Instagram or whatever you use, your website is actually an extension of your culture and your workplace, and almost like your best advertisement for people to come to you.
Exactly right. Thinking beyond, their pay and remuneration, what other things can we do for these people to make them feel like this is a great place to work? So in our case, we join professional networks, we have training things, we, go to a lot of events, we go to balls, we go to cotton conferences, we go to feedlotting balls, we go to all sorts of things to give people something beyond work that helps them, both socially and with their careers. It seems to work for us, and I guess that's, the type of, it's essentially building up that product and making it an appealing thing beyond just, what you get paid.
Yeah. Well, you've got to sell yourself, don't you? I mean, if the market's tight, you've actually got to sell. And it might be okay if you can get them on farm, but you've got to get them on farm first. You've got to get them interested. You've got to agitate them enough to be able to go, you know what? The culture and the product, shall we say, at my current employers is just not great. I'm looking for something new. And then your marketing could be enough to agitate a really good operator to go, you know what? I'm ready for a change. This is where I need to go. And so I would suggest you'd need to be, Johnny on the spot to make sure it's okay. So the biggest thing, Brendan, there is what I find is the overwhelm. I just go through the list and I go website, Google Analytics, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. There's all these mediums. So for most average business owners, that obviously don't have enough scale to be able to have a full-time marketing arm of their business, where do they start? Do you have to do everything, or can you niche down and just say, look, I'm just going to do a few things really, really well? What's your thought on that?
You don't have to do everything. I guess when we're trying to work out a promotional mix, I think I mentioned before how we talk about people who are in the market right now, and then we're talking about people who are a potential market or an audience. So often the fastest way to get some results is to focus on who are the people in the market right now. So ways and means of targeting those people, like I guess the really obvious one is, say, Google search ad. So they're the ads that appear at the top of a Google search. If they're searching for, Angus bull sale or Angus bulls or whatever the product is, if they're searching for that in Google and looking for that particular product or service, there's every chance they're pretty close to being ready to make a decision to buy that thing. So you'd call those sort of people in the market. So putting something on Google to do that would capture people like that. But you can't just rely on that. So there's ways and means of identifying an audience and putting things out there. So maybe I'll use Facebook as an example. So people are looking at Facebook because they're relaxing or catching up with friends or seeing what the family did or what their mates, how pissed their mates got on the weekend, something like that. So they're not really there to buy your product. But Facebook's got some pretty clever ways of being able to profile people and allowing us to use that data to put our ad in front of people who should be interested. They may not be interested right now, but they should be interested. So, for example, on a Facebook campaign, we can build custom audiences. So you put the Facebook tracking code on your website, and it's measuring website visitors. So let's say after a few months, you've got 5,000 people that have visited your website. We can say to Facebook, here's 5,000 people that have already visited our website. So obviously they have some affinity or some interest in what we're offering. Take that 5,000 sample audience and go out and find the next 10,000 people in Australia who are most like them. So using Facebook's algorithm and however it does it, you can actually expand your little sample size audience and put it in front of other people. So that's just a good way of potentially understanding how you would target a potential audience based on what you've already got.
Yeah. So essentially, if Ben Law goes to your website and you go, okay, well, Ben Law's come to my website. I know enough about Ben now to be able to get a profile, and then we can go out to the marketplace and find, say, 10 other Ben Laws or 10,000 other Ben Law type people, and then deliver that marketing direct to them rather than just a scattergun approach to everyone.
That's right. And Facebook's, what it knows about Ben isn't just what your profile says or what you do and post on Facebook. Because a lot of websites have this Facebook tracking pixel on them, Facebook's got a pretty good idea of all the other stuff you look at, all the other things you buy, so that when I'm asking Facebook to find a whole bunch of people like you, it's using a lot of different data points to do that, probably a lot more than what your average human could work out. And that's, if we're leveraging these platforms properly, that's how we can expand the audience. So I guess we normally just break it down to, are we targeting people who are in the market now? Where are they? Or can we identify an audience and put this in front of them and nurture them over time? Generally, if you're promoting something to a potential audience, like people who aren't necessarily on the path to buying, generally putting stuff out there with an offer or an event or something that jumps out at them and go, oh, okay, I wasn't really looking for that, but that looks like a pretty good deal, or that wouldn't be a bad event to go to, or maybe I should go to that. So that's more where you're trying to entice them to come and look at you. Whereas an in-market audience, you're just saying, well, hey, if you're looking for this, we do this, come and have a look at our webpage and see if we're a good fit. So I guess that that's one way of doing it. So there's different platforms that suit that sort of thing. So Facebook, YouTube, those sorts of things are good for a sort of a passive potential audience. Google search ads and variants of that are quite good for catching people who are currently in the market.
Mm. Yeah, because if someone types in, grader contractor or like you said, Charolais bull or Dorper sheep, then you know that they're actively looking for that, and you can say, okay, well, people are searching for this, so we'll just make sure our website pops up when people actually search for that, which gives you a greater chance of getting in front of the right people.
Yeah, so taking the Dorper sheep example, so if I was promoting rams for Dorpers, potentially if I'm trying to catch anybody who's currently sniffing around looking for a Dorper ram, I'd put a Google ad up there saying, Dorper rams, and bring them through to a landing page which explains why what the positioning of my rams are, what sort of attributes, what sort of market they're suitable for. So that would be a good Google search campaign. If I was generally just wanting to make sure everybody in that industry understood that I've got these rams and they're suitable for this particular purpose, there's ways and means of targeting those people. So there'll be industry publications. There might be a Dorper Ram Association, or at least a sheep grazing association. I can get stuff in there. I can use Facebook to say to Facebook, look, here's a bunch of people that have already bought rams off me, or here's a bunch of people that have visited my website. Can you go and find people like that? So, and I guess another example of finding people who are in the market is advertising in industry publications or even the rural press type stuff. You're putting stuff out there. They're not necessarily looking for a ram, but if they see your offer, it might be something that might entice them. So, there's different ways of looking at it.
But again, if you don't start with those 4 Ps, isn't it? If you don't start right back at the beginning and saying, well, what is our actual product? What's our value proposition with that product? Who are our customers? Why is it value to them? And why are they coming to buy from me? If you don't know that right up front, your marketing is just untargeted, isn't it? And I'd have to expect that would be the biggest frustration for most people is, their inability to get a return on investment or ROI would be the fact that they just don't dig into that enough, and you've got to invest some time in that well before you post an image or design a website or do a Google ad.
Well, yeah, we had a recent example. I don't think they're Dorper rams, but it turns out that these particular rams are quite a good pairing with a Merino ewe. So understanding who the ideal client was, who the people who are going to get value out of this style of RAM, then led us to understand, okay, well, how do we get in front of those sorts of people? So these are the questions you ask before you go and hit the promotion to make sure that you're showing the right proposition to the right people at the right time, and then being able to measure it, which is the secret.
Yeah, and it's interesting, mate. Again, this is the difference between competent and less competent, is the fact that, for most people that I've ever seen that develop websites or marketing, things like that, the first things talked about is, what do you want your website to look like? What pictures do you want? How many landing pages do you want? How many Facebook ads? Nobody ever seems to go into the whole ROI. And that's what used to frustrate me with marketing. It's like, well, I'll go back a step. I spoke to a guy a couple of months ago who had an online business, and he loves Google Ads. And I said, why do you love Google Ads? What's the ROI? And he said, Ben, for every dollar I spend, I make $5. And he said, so for me, it's a no-brainer. He says, I spend $1, I make $5. He said, why wouldn't I? He said, and I think he said he'd spent something like $1.8 million over the last 5 years on Google Ads. And I was like, I can't believe you spend so much money. He said, yeah, but do the maths. If I've spent that, what have I made? And he was making a fortune. And I think it's the same with employees. If you're struggling to get employees, for example, or you're struggling to get your contracting business, or you're struggling to sell your progeny, well then, you need to have some sort of marketing budget in there to be able to promote your business and make it seen for the right people and get a return on investment.
That's the value in measuring the performance. So often when we're starting a campaign, we'll start off with a modest budget that's good enough to get a few conversions in there, to sort of good enough for us to be able to test a few different ads against each other, good enough for the algorithm to start learning. But once you do hone in on that silver bullet, and if $1 in $5 is a good result to you, like depends on your product and your margins and things like that. But if that's a good return for you, or your cost per lead or cost per sale, or your return on investment, if you're doing an online store, if that's a good result for you, well, the next exercise is then going testing the budget, right? So if we spend $1,000 a month and it gets us this result, well, let's try 2,000. And if it gets you the same result, well, percentage-wise, it's still a good idea. So then, okay, let's try 10,000. You do get to a point where you're starting to top out on your audience. So
diminishing returns.
Yeah. So if I'm targeting the top 1% of, say 100,000 potential people, that's good. But the more budget I put in there, I'm going to start talking to the next 1% and then the next 1%. So I'm talking to the top 5% of likely buyers. So it'll get to a point where it might start, your cost per acquisition or your return on investment might deteriorate. That's not necessarily a bad thing. You can keep doing that until you get to a point where, okay, that's the limit of what I'm prepared to pay to get that sort of return. But without measuring it, you really have no idea.
Yeah, because a lot of people fall into that trap. It's nice. I think you mentioned earlier on, Brendan, the whole, I put this Facebook post up or this ad, and I get like 1,000 likes or 2 likes, and I mean, that's nice. It's good for the ego. It feels like you're getting a result, but if you're not actually making any money off it or getting any value from that other than just the great feeling that I'm getting the likes, well, it's a complete waste of time, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess another message is there are, without mentioning names, the big corporate sort of, help you with your website and SEO and Google Ads and throw it all into some sort of a package for you. And then they'll produce reports that say, you got this many clicks or this many people visit your website, you must be really happy with that. The red flag is if they're doing all these things for you, but they're not necessarily requesting access to your website to be able to put some tracking codes on there, to be able to set up some conversion goals, and then to be able to go the extra step and measure, how many phone calls did I get? How many web leads did I get? How much did that translate into online sales? If they're not doing that, they're really just doing the promotion and not really being that interested in measuring it. So there's a fair bit of hoodwinking that can go on. So if you take anything away from this, make sure that you are measuring the actual outcome and making decisions on that. And it's not normally just likes or clicks and things like that. They make you feel nice, but you're not going to sell many balls doing that.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And that's and I think the big problem there, industry-wide, Brendan, on average, has been the fact that a lot of businesses can't measure the ROI because there is no ROI. I know I've had the discussion with marketers over the year, and I'm like, well, what's my ROI? How do I actually see if I spend $1, how much am I going to make out of this? And they go, oh, yeah, measure tracking, and that was it. So that's what I love about you is because you've owned businesses, you own your own business, you know that if you're going to spend $1, you've got to make $1 out of it, and there needs to be a return on that. So, mate, so we're starting to run out of time, but one thing that I want to do is when we talked about this the other day, you know, we've known each other a long time. You're like, hey, Ben, he says, I might be able to put together a resource for all the listeners. And of course, because I think these discussions are great, but where the rubber hits the road is when you actually start doing rather than just talking. You know, it's the old knowing doing gap. I know, but I haven't done it. So you've created a bit of an online resource for us. Do you want to run through briefly what that is and where we can find it? And I'll put this in the show notes, mate.
Yeah, we've got a few tools, some things that we use that we've sort of found over time that we find useful. So the first one I put up there is a tool we use to help a business uncover their unique value proposition, and it also helps you map out your customer personas. So there's a little bit of a tool there, plus a guide on how to use it. So that's what we use. We didn't develop it ourselves. We found it quite useful for us, so I'll put that up. We've got a little one-page marketing plan or marketing strategy document that is probably a good place to start. It doesn't have to be 10 pages long, it's just something that makes sense, and that helps you then plan your promotions after that. So I'll put that up there. And we've also done a booklet that describes the marketing ecosystem. This one's probably more focused on e-commerce, but it does explain, you know, how the website and all the different marketing mediums sort of fit together and how we measure things. So I'll put that up there as well. And you can see what we use, but yeah, certainly some of this stuff you could figure out and have a good crack at yourself.
Perfect. So where can people download that from, Brendan? What's the web URL? Obviously, I'll put it in the show notes, but what's the URL?
Yeah, so our website is www.cobright.au, cobright.au. And I'll put a special link on there for you, cobright.au/thefinancialbloke. Now, that's a hidden website, hidden page on our website. So as a marketer, I'll be interested in tracking how many people come through on that. And you can bet you I'll be measuring how many people call a phone number from that, and I'll be able to tell Ben whether it worked or not. So there's a mini experiment for you.
Yeah. So anyone out there, I mean, here's the thing. I think every agribusiness producer should be having a marketing plan of some description, even the ones who just want to attract good quality employees. But if you're selling a product, that's what you need to do. And the secret to success in life, I've learned over the years, Brendan, has been who, not how. You know, you need to know enough to know what you've got to get done. But the secret to success is finding the right people, the who's, to be able to execute your plan. So that's what employees do, quality farm managers, etc. You know how to run that farm, you know how to do the work, but you pay a really good who to come in. You need a really good accountant. You know enough about accounting to do your own bookwork, but then you get your accountant to do the work. And I think the same with marketing. So, mate, I really appreciate this today. I know your knowledge is far in excess of what we've done today. You specialize in ag and you know ag, which is great. And I just really appreciate the fact that you've shared that. So do you want to just give us a really quick rundown on the business? And I'm guessing the website's probably the best place for people to connect with you.
Yeah, I can do that. So CoBright's been around since 2004. There's a team of 10 of us. In-house, we have some designers and web designers. We've got content creators, so people who write the content for you and write your stories. We've got web developers, and we have a full-time digital marketer. We're based in Toowoomba. We do a lot of work in and around Toowoomba, but I think being in Toowoomba and a few of us having an agricultural background, we do follow that agricultural niche. So our clients are all over Australia and some from the US. So having a niche to promote is a nice thing. So yeah, we do, I guess, pride ourselves on being the people that understand that chocolate milk doesn't come out of brown cows. So yeah, that's a good niche for us.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Awesome. Excellent. And now the final question I want to ask you, which I try to ask everyone nowadays, is, we're all about building wealth, but also wisdom, learning and getting better over time. And so if you could go back in a time machine, what's one piece of advice you'd give, say, 25 to 30-year-old Brendan?
I liked yours. That was one of mine as well. You don't have to know everything. You just need to know the people that do. But I probably knew that. But I guess the thing I've learned over time is how important people are. I think when you're younger, you're out there doing business and you're trying to figure it all out and you're out there doing business. But I've discovered that if if you look after the people, the money in the business kind of looks after itself, either being your family or your clients or your staff. So, and I guess in this day and age where it is hard to find people or get people to stay, looking after your people is, I guess if you described our marketing budget at the moment, it's probably more about nurturing and looking after our people and our clients, and then trusting that looks after itself. And I think it does. So that's my advice to 30-year-old Brendan.
Yeah, that's good, mate. And that's a really unique way of looking at it. Is part of your marketing budget in your agribusiness should be your staff, your people, making sure you retain the right ones and provide a better environment. I like that.
Well, in our business, we don't sell products, we don't do anything, but we have some pretty clever people here. So if we don't look after those, we really don't have anything to offer. So I think we do a good job of that. So it's important.
Yeah, and they probably make you look good.
They certainly do. If I just keep out of the road and let them do it, it seems to work out okay.
Yeah, good. Awesome, mate. Well, great, Brendan. Really appreciate your time, mate. I've got a huge amount out of that. The 4 Ps: product, place, price, and promotion. But start with your unique value proposition. Know who your customers are, why it's valuable to them, and what they're wanting is where you should start. So the website links I'll put on the show notes. Again, cobright.au/thefinancialbloke.
That's it.
Excellent. Well, look, mate, we'll get you back on at some stage. I'd like to dig into a few of these topics, especially around understanding your unique value proposition, because I think a lot of people will really struggle with why their, service that they're providing, why their workplace or why their bull, their sheep, their whatever it might be is valuable to their customers. So, mate, watch this space, everyone. And if people are interested in that, drop me an email, ben@thefinancialbloke.com.au. And that's it for now. Thanks very much for your time, Brendan.
Thanks, Ben.
So now before we go, as always, I just want to give you a little bit of a summary. Now, I know I've probably said these a few times through the podcast, but I think when we get to the end of it, it's just great to have a succinct summary. The first thing is, if you're going to be doing some marketing, make sure you get good bang for your buck. So you need to do all the prep work for marketing before you go into the promotion. So that's the website, the social media, etc. And the first thing you've got to do is you've got to get what is your unique value proposition. Number 2, who the hell are your customers? Who are you trying to get to consume your stuff, shall we say? And why is that stuff, that product, that service, etc., valuable to them? You've really got to hone in and know exactly what that is. And then remember, as Brendan said, the 4 Ps of effective marketing, which is product, know your product. 2, place or positioning, so you know where this is going. Number 3, price. You've got to have a good understanding of price, where the value is and who will pay for it. And the last one is promotion. What it comes down to is that's the last step in the process is promotion. So that's your website, your socials, TV, ad, in the Queensland Country Life, whatever it might be. That's the 4 Ps. But above all, when you see someone for marketing, make sure you do that homework at the beginning and really make sure the person you deal with can work out the ROI, also return on investment. You really need to know what that is, because if you spend $1, you want to get more than $1 back in value. And remember, the value may not be, I spent $1, so I sold $2 worth of stuff like bulls or rams or grain or contracting services. Sometimes it's about I've built a brand name out in the marketplace. So when people come and want to look for a job or looking for opportunities, they'll come and see you. So that was a great episode. I learned a lot in it. We're going to get Brendan back on again. So if you've got any questions, reach out to Brendan. If you're in an agribusiness and you need some help, he's a great bloke, easy to deal with. I think you'll have a great experience with him. So that's it for today. My name's Ben Law. I'm the Financial Bloke, and we'll see you next time.